Hello, welcome back to Space Engineers. In today's video, looking at another small fighter called the GyroFighter. It's got another name, but I'm not going to even try and pronounce that. But this does not use gyroscopes. No, this has got manual gyroscopes made out of rotors, made out of hinges, and spinning discs on the side. And I have no idea how it even functions or why the game even allows this thing to work. But I feel I should just grab hold of my character, hop into the ship, and we'll show you what's going on. But I suppose what I should do before I do that is actually move around over here to actually show you the gyroscopes themselves. So it's going to be the same on the opposite, but what we've got coming off the main body is a hinge, comes across onto this weird section right here, where as you can see we've got a rotor on that side. In the middle here we've got this little disc, we've got some columns on some grey steel blocks. Onto this section, lots and lots of rotors that will spin around at different speeds to help maneuver this thing around. And well, that is the gyroscope. That is how it's going to be moving around. And once again, it does not use a gyroscope on this thing. Having a gyroscope into here, that's all it has. So, into this view, bring up the HUD. What I'm going to do now is turn on power, lift this thing off the ground, because you do got to make sure you've got plenty of clearance before you actually enable this thing, otherwise the wheels will damage themselves, and if the wheels do get damaged, it's going to fly quite horribly. We'll do that a bit later on. No, lifting this all the way up. I'm now going to press number 5. What's going to happen is, the wheels are going to start spinning. In fact, I'll try and attach this onto the ship. There we are, so now the camera has been fully attached onto the ship. It was to say move this left, move this right. You see the disc, the wheels spinning around, and it was to say turn it around. That's how it works. Just come back into this view, moving forwards, turning it around, just with the mouse, and there's the wheel just spinning around there, pressing Q, pressing E, and there it's just slamming around. And this world does not have block destruction turned off, it's fully enabled, and it's just flying around, all nice and proper, no resisting randomly blowing up. But like I said, you've got to be very careful when you're coming down to the ground or taking off to not enable the wheels, otherwise it will damage itself. But no, this is how this thing has been set up. It's an absolute amazing piece of engineering. And there we are, we can see the gyroscope spinning around there. Because to move this thing around left and right, we see how one is slowly spinning, how one is rapidly spinning, and how it's tilting up and moving down. No, what happens if we were to damage the wheels? Yes, if I was to come down to the ground, very, very carefully here. It's quite awkward to fly around. It takes a little bit to actually get used to. Compared to the actual traditional gyroscopes, which is just plug in and play, basically. Now I'm going to come all the way down. Very, very carefully. Then once we start to get close to the ground, try and level this thing off. Down we come. Hopefully damaging only one side. There we go, it looks like we did damage 2. There we are, we've now got a gap in the wheel. And driving this thing around, as you can see, we are now wobbling. Moving up. Driving forward, first person view. You can see how this thing is wanting to tilt, automatically tilting to left or right. And it's just wobbling around there. The more that gets damaged, the more it's going to happen, before it becomes uncontrollable. That is the gyroscopes and how they're being set up. It's an absolutely amazing piece of engineering. I suppose what I will do is now just slam this into the ground, spawn in the brand new one, then we'll go around the outside, and all of that. So here I am with a brand new one, it's all ready to go, it's spinning around, ready for me to take off. But before we do that, pressing F10, finding its spawn menu, and there is its actual name, and of course Gyrofighter right there, which is what I'm going to be referring it to. Yes, this thing is 772 small blocks using a couple of the DLC packs. It uses no mods, but it does use some scripts to actually make it function. It's got 2 programmable blocks, where you need to recompile both of them when you spawn it in order to make it work. Drawing all the way down to here, there's a lot of information about it, including the math behind how they created this thing, and of course all the challenges they had and what they needed to do to it. So give this thing a thumbs up. We're going to move around towards the very front, have a look around the outside, go through any of the controls it has, then go drive it around one more time. Of course it can fly through space, it's all set up to do that, and as you can see here it does fly quite well on the planet. So for the very front of the GyroFighter, this is what we get. We're right at the very front, we've got some black steel blocks that lead up to some flush cockpits, 2 of them, where only the front one's going to be able to drive this thing around. The rear one's for your passengers along with you, and experience the joy of this gyroscope system. On the left and right hand side, we've got our hydrogen thrusters, which is the only form of thrusters that appear on the ship, so like I said, we are good for being on the planet or through space, and we do come with 2 Gunner guns to blast your enemies with. If we move up and around, we've got green steel blocks also make up the main body of this vehicle, which has been slightly separated by that black and all the way across. Around. As we move across onto the side here, here's that lovely gyroscope just spinning all the way around, keeping this thing nice and stable. I have no idea how this thing actually works. It just boggles my mind that this even was possible in Space Engineers. But no, here it is. right here. Coming all the way up here is your rotors that spin all the way around and help maneuver this thing, keep it nice and stable. All the way onto this section, there's another rotor. Into this section, we see how it's been connected up. We've got some artificial mass, just in case you need it. Onto this section, as we saw earlier, there's your hinge, especially moving forwards and backwards. Moving up and around and looking at it from this side, if I can. There it is, spinning around. Then we move all the way up, look down at the sides. There we are. Then moving past it, another hydrogen thruster. There's a little rotor head. And onto this section, through into this part, you can see conveyors has been linked up. Move around towards the very back. So we see 4 hydrogen thrusters to boost us forwards, as well as a nice blue glow coming off these light panels up here, which will just act as a small fake booster. Let's move it all the way up and looking down. There's a little fin on both sides. Cross over to this section. This is another part that moves around. This neon tube over from this hinge will move forwards and backwards as you were to move forwards and backwards. Not too sure what that's actually for, if it's useful or not, but I'll just say at the end of the day with pretty much anything on the ship, just be careful if you do damage it, make sure you repair it as soon as possible. There's some AI blocks, there's the time block, there's an event controller. Across here we see the sign of our battery, which I believe is a Prototech battery. Over there's in your hydrogen tank. All the way across, there's our cockpit number 1, cockpit number 2 to drive it around. And there we are. Moving all the way down underneath this thing, past our Gatling guns, past all of these hydrogen thrusters, looking at it like so. There's our connector to dock it up, and there's a very good look at our wheels spinning around on both sides. Really see circles spinning around on both sides. And well, that is basically it for the outside of this ship. The end of the day, it's a great looking ship, but it's more the actual gyroscope effects on the side here spinning around. That's the whole purpose of this, and why I highly recommend downloading it and checking it out yourself. What I can do now is grab hold of this character, put out this seat, into this one. There we are, bring up the HUD. All we got on here is a button to control the landing and taking off sequence. But if we press that, what's going to happen is, we see our gyroscopes on the side fold up, they stop spinning, then in the front here a piston will come all the way down, allowing us to drop the ship onto the ground if we need to. But of course we can't actually drive this thing around, we can't actually turn off power from this seat, so we need to do this from the front seat. Here we are. Now what we can do is press Y, drop it down to the ground, and now we land down onto that piston, and we're ready to be stored up, and of course connect out that connector. Once again, turning on that, we now lift it off the ground, press number 5, piston retracts up, wheels start spinning, go back into their vertical position. Number 1, we've got our Gatling guns to actually shoot our enemies with. There we are. 3 7 will connect under there to lock and unlock it. Number 7 for your artificial mass in case you need it, make it a bit more weighty. And then number 9 for your hydrogen thrusters, which are on the very front here, to turn them on, turn them off, so if you move forwards, you'll start to cruise along. And there we are. First, what I can do now is just drive around one more time, hiding in the HUD, reloading myself so don't slam into the ground like that ship over there, which is still spinning around. And well, here we go, moving forwards. Just holding forwards, nothing special is going to happen on the side. It's only going to be when we press Q on E, we'll start to move the mouse around. So as you see there, I'm pressing E, pressing Q, there is slamming forwards, there is slamming back. Of course, tilting it with the mouse, and around, and there we are. And of course, it can bring us all the way up to space. There we go, and here we are now just driving this thing around. So moving forwards, it does sort of like to tilt all the way up. Not too much you can do about that other than fight it with the mouse. Moving around one more time. There goes the wheels. And well, that's pretty much it for this ship. And once again, there is no gyroscope block on here. It's purely done through the system on the side, which again is absolutely fantastic. I still don't understand how this works, or even why it works, but it does. But other than that, that's pretty much it for the ship, all it has to offer. Like I said earlier, I highly recommend downloading it, checking out yourself, because it's just something to behold. So it will be linked to its description below, along with the skybox I'm currently using, along with the modded planet I'm currently using. And well, I'll be back with another video sometime soon. Bye bye.